Ballyhoo and welcome. The Passion Project continues. My name is Remedy Robinson. I'm a linguist, author, and a loyal fan. Have you heard Hey Clockface? It's another stellar accomplishment. And this is an appreciation. This is an exploration of linguistics, language, and rock and roll supremacy, as framed by the peerless poetry of the modern-day master, Elvis Costello. Today's slow drag is with Poor Fractured Atlas. From All This Useless Beauty, released in 1996, the songwriting is credited to Elvis Costello. Where once the outlook and scope of understanding was slanted by a British upbringing and a penchant for clever idiom busting, this piece from Elvis Costello's 17th major studio album, it taps into a fanciful landscape using beguiling imagery that honors rock and roll by infusing it with a novel concept told through low-frequency words and journeyman rhyme schemes that are punctuated by lilting end rhymes. He's out in the woods with his squirrel gun to try to recapture his anger. He's screaming some words at the top of his lungs until he begins to feel younger. Gun, lungs, and younger. This gorgeous rhyme set burst like little fireworks from the docile beginning of the first verse. A squirrel gun, as the name denotes, is designed for small game and has a range of roughly 400 yards. This weapon is referenced in Marty Robbins' 1961 The Ballad of the Alamo. Both squirrel guns and muzzleloaders were used as they, quote, stood together, heel to toe, to defend the Alamo. Both the squirrel gun and the mention of feeling younger are strategically placed in this piece, I believe, as we'll find out as we go along. But back at his desk in the city we find our trembling, punch-drunken fighter who can't find the strength now to punish the length of the ribbon in his little typewriter. Fighter and typewriter will sound familiar to even the most casual Elvis Costello fan, although I'd argue there is no such thing as a casual Elvis Costello fan. Rhyming find in the first line with the same word in the third line is inspired. There are some who contend that you cannot rhyme a word with itself, that it's simply repeating. Others call it an identical rhyme, which I seem to favor. But what is more, this is a contention that has been debunked in this and many other Elvis Costello pieces. The rhyming pair of strength and length is an excellent example of making use of every square inch of canvas. In these few lines, we have a well-rounded understanding of our protagonist. Muted tones and emotional impotence are now put into sharper focus by having screamed into the wilderness. Poor fractured Atlas threw himself across the mattress, waving his withering pencil as if it were a pirate's cutlass. I'm almost certain he's trying to increase his burden. He said, that's how the child in me planned it. A woman wouldn't understand it. We're all familiar with Atlas, to be sure. He held the world on his shoulders. It's the name given to maps of the world. Well, that might not be exactly true. Putting the weight on his shoulders was Atlas's punishment for having led the Titans into battle for control over the heavens against the Olympic gods. Zeus, the victor of the war, condemned Atlas to eternally stand at the western edge of the world in order to hold the heavens on his shoulders. This was in order to prevent the sky and the earth from resuming their primordial embrace. The name Atlas means very enduring, so to call him poor and fracture represents what a great fall it is when he throws himself across the mattress. His withering pencil is another form of something heavy and crushing. The lovely reversal of how he's trying to increase his burden is a gorgeous failure that seems nearly impossible. You have to really blow it to defy gravity like that. The verse finishes with a flourish. Another word rhymed with itself, this time planned it and understand it. Genius. But what would you expect from the chorus that begins by rhyming Atlas with mattress? I believe there was something that I wanted to say before I conclude this epistle, but you would forgive me for holding my tongue. 'Cause man made the blade and the pistol. Yes, man made the waterfall over the dam to temper his tantrum with magic. Now you can't be sure of that tent of azure since he punched a hole in the fabric. It is simply stunning how the structure of length and strength in one line from the first verse is now mirrored here with shore and azure. The shift into the first person is surprising, making it sound confessional, so very intimate. It's as if we're now able to read what he'd finally gathered his strength to tell. Or it could be from a different person's point of view altogether, commenting on what has transpired. Forgive me for holding my tongue, because man has harnessed the use of tools to the point where it can divert the flow of water. The tent of azure, the skies above, seemed to follow Atlas's burden, and how the opposite of increasing his burden was his own making. It reminds me of one of my favorite book titles, Milan Kundra's The Unbearable Lightness of Being. Poor fractured Atlas threw himself across the mattress, waving his withering pencil as if it were a pirate's cutlass. I'm almost certain he's trying to increase his burden. He said, that's how the child in me planned it. A woman wouldn't understand it. There are so many clues and visual contradictions in this beautiful chorus that it was worth another listen, especially since it ends with such a haunting punctuation. A woman wouldn't understand it. Dig it! Again, this has been a slow drag with Poor Fractured Atlas from 1996's All This Useless Beauty. As mentioned above, the squirrel gun and how he begins to feel younger might have been strategically placed in this lovely piece, not to mention the statement that that's how the child in me planned it. Well, I try my best to avoid hearing what Elvis Costello songs are about. Sometimes it's nearly impossible. Just like Veronica is about his grandmother. Poor Fractured Atlas, or so I once read or heard, maybe I don't remember, was conceived after learning of a teenager with a terminal brain tumor. His dying wish was to kill a Kodiak bear. There is something so perverse about a human faced with mortality, wishing for another creature's death before his own. It makes the understanding of mortality complicated at the very minimum. Have you heard this story about the boy and the bear? What do you think of the juxtaposition of how his death upon death scenario created this expansive piece of art that will always live on? Research tells me that, yes, in fact, this is a true story, that the boy's name was Eric, although the connection between him and this piece is not qualified. I do have a vague memory of hearing Mr. Costello mention these origins on, maybe it was World Cafe, I don't remember. Eric's request to kill a Kodiak bear in Alaska, the Make-A-Wish Foundation said, reflects a lifelong involvement in family hunting. Which, by the way, family hunting can be its own wonderfully ambiguous song title. The Fund for Animals, in opposition to Eric's request, stepped in to offer a camera so that Eric could take pictures of the bears instead. Seemingly, the procedure is the same, only with more humane consequences. The Make-A-Wish Foundation declined to say if the trip ever took place. All of this is to say that this is how to write poetry. What an excellent lesson. Subvert, allude, overstate, understate, twist. And that's it for today's slow drag, my friend. Thank you for listening. I encourage you to re-listen to episode 9 of Slow Drag with Remedy, Grace and Virtue. It's a slow drag with the title track of All This Useless Beauty. And episode 23, False and Lovely Modesty. It's a slow drag with Little Atoms, as well as episode 56, Pure Illuminated Sweetness. It's a slow drag with Distorted Angel. All 3 of these episodes are slow drags with more gems from All This Useless Beauty. We're on social media. You can find us on Instagram. Simply search for my name, Remedy Robinson, or search for Slow Drag with Remedy. We're also on Twitter at Slow Drag Remedy. Give us a follow. Say hello. We follow back. Also, please visit slowdragwithremedy.com for companion blogs and other useful information. As always, thank you for helping to get the word out about this little passion project. Please take the time to give us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts. Thank you. Truly, it means the world. So, until next time, adieu, my little ballyhoo. Slow drag with Remedy.